All right. Ready, pal? All righty. Welcome to the Gridiron. Basically, where we talk about how great the New York Football Giants are and how badly the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys blow. Oh, man, I was like saying that. Welcome to the Gridiron. It's always, please subscribe, like this video, maybe share it. That'd be freaking awesome. Down in the description box below, the very top link, if you want to help support my channel out. I got 3 different membership levels. The first one's called the Saquon, the second one's called the Lawrence Taylor, and the third membership level I got is called the Gridiron. Each one has their own little perks to them, so if you want to help support my channel out, it would mean so much to me. I thank you in advance. And also, just a little ways down in the description box, there's 2 additional links. The top one's a Facebook link. It takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. We have over 8,800 members in the group. It's doing fantastic. I'm putting stuff in there every day. Please join the group. You won't be dissatisfied. I promise. And then the link underneath it, it's to my Twitter account. Follow me on Twitter. I'll follow you back. That's an absolute promise. I try to put Giants-related stuff in my Twitter account every day. Well, got a lot going on. I did do a video last night, but it wasn't about the training camp. It was about November 8th, 1927, a Providence Steamroller came to town to play the Giants at the Polo Grounds. So I did a video on that. I'm trying to finish up the 27 season, the Giants' first championship season. It's 1927. I'm trying to get those videos done. And I won't get them done before the beginning of the season, but I'll try to get them done early, before we get too far into the season is all. But there was training camp on Sunday, and then the first padded practice was today. So, and then they're supposed to have a padded practice tomorrow, and I believe then they're off on Wednesday. And a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of stuff to talk about here. But there was a couple, some good stuff, and there was some bad stuff. One thing was, you were kind of wondering how long, Nathan Rourke was going to wind up hanging around. Maybe it wasn't such a negative on his part, but they brought in a cornerback, which is like okay, but has familiarity. There is familiarity there, so we'll go over that. That's quite possibly why they brought him in, the cornerback. But with Rourke, you were just wondering how long they were going to keep him around, because. They can only keep so many quarterbacks. Now, they were definitely going to need at least 3 quarterbacks, like in OTAs and, early on, because they weren't sure if Daniel Jones was going to be ready, or if he was ready, what could he do or not do. And also, I'm sure they wanted to have, at least 4 quarterbacks. So Rourke's going, but he's gone. Certainly doesn't mean they won't bring him back. Certainly does not mean that they won't bring in another quarterback somewhere along the line. But, if you're going to bring a cornerback in, you got to get rid of somebody. So they got rid of Rourke. But one nice thing was that they did bring in Theo. Good old Theo's running around out there. So thank goodness for that. Giants activate Theo Johnson. They released Rourke, and then they signed Breon Borders, a cornerback. He's been around. It just does not have a lot of play experience, shall we say. Some special teams play, does not have a boatload of defensive experience. This is Sunday stuff. So Dable announced before practice on Sunday that the team is activating Theo Johnson from the PUP list. That meant, he passed his physical, so he's good to go. All right, fantastic. They also announced that they're signing Breon Borders following a tryout at the start of camp. Giants drafted Johnson out of Penn State, but The Giants are also releasing Nathan Rourke. Rourke was claimed off waivers from New England Patriots in May. However, he wasn't given much work through the first week of camp. There's only so much he could do, if you're the fourth quarterback and they're trying to give as many reps as they can to Drew Lock, Tommy Chicky, Cutler Parmesan, and Daniel Jones, that kind of leaves, Rourke is kind of like the odd man out. But so releasing Rourke isn't related to activating Johnson from the PUP list, but the Giants announced that they're signing cornerback Breon Borders in a corresponding move. Borders, 7-year veteran, all right, who's appeared in 32 career games. He's also familiar, but he has the familiarity there. So this is right. This is quite possibly maybe why they brought him in, right? He is familiar with Joe Shane and Shane Bowen because he's had stops. Borders has had stops with Buffalo and Tennessee. Dave also said in his remarks that center John Michael Schmitz suffered a shoulder injury and will be limited to individual drills on Sunday. Jimmy Morrissey took reps in Schmidt's place late in Friday's practice. But if we look at, let's see, they got a little thing here on Borders, a little article here. Giants signed cornerback Breon Borders. This is for Giants Wire. John Finelli wrote this. On Sunday, the Giants announced signing veteran cornerback Breon Borders to fill the empty roster spot left by the release of Nathan Rourke. Borders, who turned 29 last week, is well-traveled. The Giants are his 13th stop. His career began as an undrafted free agent out of Duke with the Oakland Raiders in 2017. Since then, Borders has spent time with Buffalo. Sorry, buddy. Houston, Jacksonville, Washington, Pittsburgh, Miami, Tennessee, Arizona, Chicago, Atlanta, and most recently, New England. Now he's with the Giants. Holy cow, Batman. He's played in 32 NFL games, starting 6, with his busiest period being with Tennessee from 20 to 21. I'll go over his snaps and all that in just a second here. When he played 17 games with 5 starts. Current Giants defensive coordinator Shane Bowen was an assistant with the Titans during that period. Over 7 seasons, Borders has recorded 42 tackles, 35 solo, 1 for a loss, 1 quarterback hit, 1 fumble recovery, 7 passes defense, and 1 interception. Should he make the roster, Borders also has special teams. So now let's go to the special teams here. Here we go. All right, well, that's all I say. Let me go. This is his defense. 2019, when he was with Jacksonville and Washington, he played in a grand total of 96 snaps on defense. In 2020, when he was exclusively with the Titans, he had 360 defensive snaps. Then once again, he had the combo pack. He was with Arizona and Tennessee in 2021. He played in 70 defensive snaps. Now in 2020, when he had this 360 defensive snaps, let's see. He was left cornerback, right cornerback, and looks like the slot. I mean, looks like he played like all of them. Let's see. In 2020, he graded out overall at a 71.1, but that was his best. 2019, he graded out at a 59. 2021, the last season, he played defense. So we're going back a couple years there. He graded out a 45.2. All right, so that's defense. But if we go to special teams here, let's see what we're popping up here. Snap special teams. There we go. What do we got here? What do we got? Okay. Now, he's played in 334 career special team snaps. 2017, he was with Buffalo. He had 9 special team snaps. 2018 with Jacksonville, he had 9 special team snaps. 2019, that's when he played some defense and special teams. He was 166 special team snaps. 2020, when he had over 300 defensive snaps, he played in 14 special team snaps for Tennessee. 2021, when he was with Arizona and Tennessee, 127 special team snaps. And then 2022 with Chicago, 9 special team snaps. Now, apparently, I guess 2023, he didn't play. He did not have any snaps at all. His special teams grades were nothing. He graded a 63, a 55, a 60, a 55, a 60. So nothing super spectacular, nothing super maybe duper duper horrible. He's 6 foot tall, 190 pounds, right? But undrafted free agent from Duke. I guess he played with Daniel Jones, right? With the Raiders. Now, obviously the Raiders drafted him, but, he really never played for him. So, he's had a lot of stops. So, once again, this is one of these, just don't get too unbelievably, wildly, crazily about this, about this signing. We got a lot of guys in the secondary. So, if he makes the team, cool. But he's got a little bit of uphill battle. But it's the way it is. Unless you're going out there and you're going to spend a few million to bring in somebody off the streets, right? You bring in somebody like him. There's a lot of these guys like this out there. So we'll have to wait and see. But he's been around for a while, and he's a lot of teams have kicked the tires on him, but he really has never really stuck. But I said, quite possibly the reason why you got brought in here was the familiarity with Shane. He was with Buffalo, right? And then his familiarity with Bowen at Tennessee. So I'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Then we got all right. Practice 4. Now this will be the 4th train. This on Sunday, right? So this is without the pads. The Giants. Apparently Sunday they were going deep. Apparently today they not so much. Wasn't a lot of stuff going deep today. But let's see who's this here. Michael Lee from Giants from SI.com. He was talking about. He brings up Malik Nabers is really good. When we watch receivers in training camp, we always keep it in the back of our minds that a receiver who is looking as though he's in mid-season form could be giving off an optical illusion of being that way simply because his competition is not necessarily at the top of its game. That's not the case with Giants' first-round pick Malik Nabers. The rookie has put all those skills that cause the Giants to fall in love with him. Let's say the ability to slip behind defenders, the sticky hands, the competitiveness, all on full display throughout 4 practices, and appears to be developing into one of those players who opposing defensive coordinators are going to find a pain in the neck to deal with. A problem player. Jones had a better day on Sunday, a couple of days removed from a lesser than impressive practice in which he only completed one of his deep pass attempts over 20 yards. Giants quarterback Daniel Jones was a little bit better on Sunday. He rebounded nicely from a slow start to his he had a slow start to his day, in which his biggest issue continued to be throwing behind his receivers. He's had it's just practice, just training camp. If he's going to really stink things up a little bit, this is the time to do it. But he's had there was that one video. It was, I think it was on Sunday. Wando Robinson was like wide open down the sideline. There wasn't anybody in the same zip code as Wando Robinson, and Daniel Jones overthrew him by like 5 yards. But so if you're going to stink things up, now's the time to do it. And Daniel Jones is just coming back off of injury as well too. So let's hope he starts smoothing some things out. As the practice went on, Jones seemed to get in sync with his receivers and put more emphasis on getting the ball out of his hands quicker rather than holding it an extra second or two. He connected with Nabers on our choice for the play of the day, the rookie beating cornerback Cordell Flott deep. Jones' other nice throws went to Hyatt, who beat rookie cornerback slot Andru Phillips. The play of the day, Jones was continued to be up and down with his deep passing attempts, connected on this perfectly placed pass to Malik Nabers along the near sideline. Then we have the injuries. We got Tyler Nubin still with his calf. I highly doubt it's anything like the thing that kept Victor Cruz out like the entire 2015 season, but let's hope it's just a little something with the calf. I couldn't believe it. Once again, I'm an idiot. I know I'm not a doctor and all that stuff, but I'll tell you what, when Victor got hurt against the Beagles in 2014, and then he tried to come back in 2015. He was at camp and this, that, and the other thing. And he kept taking on a problem with his calf. I'm like, it got to be a couple days, maybe a week. It's a calf. Come on. Didn't blow out his Achilles or tear his ACL. And it's just a calf. Nope. Waited week 1, 2015, week 2, 2015, week 8. Week 10, week 552 of week 5 of 20. I'd say, where is Victor? What's going on? It's just a calf. Nope. I never saw him in 2016, which would be his last season in the NFL. But so let's hope it's nothing really that drastic with Tyler Nubin, because I'm really anxious to see him on. Bellum's not doing too bad so far. It's just practice and all of that. Got to take all that stuff with a grain of salt. But Dane Belton, I don't know, he just seems to have like magnets in him, and that ball just seems to get attracted to him. He's always seemed to be either picking a pass off or getting a fumble or something. So, which is something you like from your safety. I can't wait to see, Nubin get out there. Let's see. So Nubin remained out of team drills. Defensive lineman Timmy Horn, he had a calf, but he returned to action. Center John Michael Schmitz with his shoulders held out of team drills. Austin Schlotman, pick a pronunciation. I'm sure you'll be right. And John Runyon Jr. shared the team reps at center. When Runyon moved to the center, Jake Kubis and Jalen Mayfield both got first team reps for right guard. The Schmitz injury could be something to watch. Last season, Schmitz missed 3 games with a shoulder ailment. It's unclear if his latest issue is to the same shoulder or the same injury, but that is something to keep an eye on. As an offensive lineman with a shoulder issue, it's not a positive development. Nope. Absolutely not. Schmitz's injury also brings into focus the battle for the backup center, which was initially thought to be between Schlotman and Jimmy Morrissey. It's unfair to offer an assessment on each since there's no pads on, so it's tough to assess real development. If you can't try to grab a hold of the defensive lineman or anything like that, but the pads are on now. Tight end Theo Johnson was activated off a pup and proceeded to be inserted into the lineup with the second team offense. Johnson hit the ground running, making at least one solid reception early on. He has a chance to really make some noise in the offense as tight end number 2 behind Bellinger. Micah McFadden had a hamstring, who had been limited to start thanks to his injuries, saw more first-team reps. Outside linebacker Toman Fox had a big wrap on his left leg. It's unclear what happened or when it happened. Evan Neal and cornerback Aaron Robinson remain on PUP. Head coach Brian Dable said Neal is getting close to a return, but he would not commit to saying if Neal would be ready for week 1. So he's getting close, but he may not be ready for 6-7 weeks from now. So, but also too, if yeah, you have to wait and see. I mean, like with Neal, he might be on the bike or do whatever or something, but if he's a week or two away from the starting of the season and he's ready to be inserted in the lineup, would they keep him in there and have him in what kind of shape is he going to be in? I'll have to wait and see. And if they got a Luminor out there at right tackle, and Luminor's taken 3, 4, 5 weeks worth of right tackle, Evan Neal coming back, right? Is Evan going to be right in there, and they're going to move Luminor back to guard? That's something to keep an eye on. Let's see here. Then Jalen Mills, I guess it must be the year of the calf, I guess. Because Jalen Mills has got a calf. Stanley Thomas Oliver's got a groin. They're on the reserve non-football injury list. The Giants released quarterback Nathan Rourke and signed cornerback Breon Borders to the 90-man roster. Then let's see here. Yeah, okay. Giants will be in pads on Monday and Tuesday. All right. And we got takeaways from the first padded practice on Monday. Monday. What did we learn on Monday? Tolman Fox with his hamstring and Dexter Lawrence had an illness. Didn't say what it was, but Sexy Dexy not participating today. Let's see. Lawrence Cager briefly left the beginning portion with a lower leg injury. He went off on the side with the trainer and eventually returned. Brian Burns had his right ankle checked out by the trainers. Did not appear to be serious, but he was done for the rest of the practice. Evan Neal was also at practice watching. Prior to the media walking out onto the practice field, the wide receivers were standing about 5 yards away from the jugs machine. They were performing quick reaction catches. Malik Nabers made about 12 one-handed catches in a row. He was snagging these passes from straight ahead and with an outstretched arm. In his pre-practice press conference, head coach Brian Dable highlighted Nabers calling his own shot on Thursday's deep completion toward the end when he caught a pass with Tay Banks covering him. Let's see. So this is all today. This was the first time we've seen the 7-7. Usually, they haven't had 7-on-7 yet. One highlight of the half-field 7-on-7 was a 15 to 20-yard out to Darius Slayton along the sideline. The window was tight, and the pass needed touch. Jones delivered a perfectly thrown pass over the top of Cordell Flott, and Slayton got both feet in bounds before almost taking out Ed Valentine on the sideline. And then Ed Valentine said, well, at 63, I still have some reflexes. Darius Slayton almost landed in my lap after catching a sideline throw from Daniel Jones. He had to show some quick feet. Jones also hit Wan'Dale Robinson and Malik Nabers on quick hitches. Drew Lock started shakily with his first few passes. He appeared to be holding onto the football too long. David Long Jr. had a great pass defense on a play broken down for the offense. Long Jr. drove down from the numbers and knocked the pass away from a receiver. Jones returned to 7-on-7 and missed an open receiver up the numbers, but hit Lawrence Cager in stride on the next pass before finding Hodgins on a deep post for a touchdown. The coverage was solid, but the throw had soft trajectory that allowed Hodgins to use his body as a shield. Jones then threw a catchable 30 or so yard pass into double coverage to Malik Nabers, who jumped up at the front pylon to secure the ball but failed to bring it in. There were two defenders draped all over him. But the pass was to his outside and slightly away from the leverage of both defenders. Overall, Jones finished 7-9 in the half-field 7-on-7 period. There was no pass rush or line in these periods, so yeah. There was a whole bunch of little tidbits here. Daniel Jones finished 7 of 10 in the team period. Jones looked fine today. He was quick with finding solutions and getting the football out of his hands. He remained efficient and made a few off-platform completions. Drew Lock used his mobility often in the backfield. He made several off-platform completions. Lock completed an underhanded shovel pass while escaping the pocket and resulted in a 15-plus yard yak completion. Tommy DeVito was adequate with a few notable throws. One was a well-timed strike along the sidelines to Miles Boykin on an outside route. There were a lot of stretch zone runs and zone reads. Yeah, they were saying today that there was not so much a lot of long, deep stuff. There's a lot of shorter stuff, but a lot of running stuff as well, too. And they're also talking about a Big Blue Kickoff Live. There were Paul Dottino and John Schmelk. They were talking about how Turbo Miller, they had a couple wheel routes. I mean, they didn't say who the linebacker was covering, but they had no chance. They were also praising Tyrone Tracy as well, too, saying he looked pretty well, too. Then they were also mentioning that quite possibly Eric Gray might be fighting for that third, might be fighting for his life for that third, to hold on to that third, running back position. Maybe he might be slipping down because I'm not hearing, once again, it's just early. It's just training camp. A trillion things can happen, blah, 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 blah. So, just because you don't hear something in the first couple of days doesn't mean, the guy is horrible, whatever. But, they also let's forget, they drafted him for a reason, right? But, I mean, I'm hearing, Turbo. I'm hearing him. I'm hearing Tracy, right? Motor Singletary. He's pretty much a lock, I guess, to be the number one guy. But it's going to be interesting to see, who will be running back number 2, who's going to be running back number 3, and who's going to be the first running back to be sent to the practice squad. That's going to be interesting. Because let's not forget about Corbin as well, too, right? Let's see. They said there was a lot of stretch zone runs and zone reads. Devin Singletary found a cutback lane through a narrow crevice and exploded for a 10-plus yard gain that wowed the crowd. Ooh. Dante Turbo Miller hit a hole hard and made a linebacker miss before getting outside the numbers for a long run. It was with the second team, they said here. But, dudes runs under a 4.3. Get them in space. Give the ball, right? Let's see what he can do, right? He might be one of those guys, without question, to, think about maybe a kickoff or whatever, because if you can give the guy a crease, right, and he can hit the hole. See, it's going to be a little bit different because you usually, the other kickoffs, right? They run it downfield. There might be maybe a couple layers to it, because it's not like, the guy runs and you get a crease and all of a sudden he pops through the old kickoff I'm talking about, right? It's not with a guy running, and you give him a hole, right? And he breaks through the hole and he's gone. Yeah, I mean, usually, the guy run, there's maybe a hole here, makes a guy miss, and he's got to maybe slide over here or whatever. And then, then there still might be one or two guys he's got to get paid, you know what I mean? But with this new kickoff, it's like, a line here and a line here, It's going to be interesting to see how they try to block it and how they try to defend it. But I mean, basically, just a line, if somehow they can, whatever. Somehow double team one guy and push him one way and then somehow get a kick out on another guy and open up a hole. And give this dude who has under 4.3 speed a hole. Let him go. Ain't nobody catching him. And because if he gets past people, nobody's catching him from behind. He's gone. So he could be a huge asset. That's not something Eric Gray can do. Right? So he could be a huge asset without question. Let's see here. Up. Different motions remain a theme for the Giants today. The Giants used interesting formation in 12 personnel to open up the middle of the field for Nabers, who was the number 3 innermost receiver on the 3 receiver side. Jalen Hyatt caught a strike on a slant in tight coverage versus Dane Belton. Jones placed the throw to Hyatt's back shoulder away from Belton's leverage, and Hyatt secured the catch through this with slight contact. Let's see. Oh, we got a ton of stuff. Man. Wan'Dale Robinson was open early and often. Allen Robinson beat his cornerback on a deep post and was wide open. Hyatt also showed defensive comprehension versus zone. He had a few catches where he perfectly positioned himself. Gunnar Olszewski made several catches with Tommy DeVito. Theo Johnson received early work with the first-team offense. Johnson improvised and worked the sideline for a nice completion from Jones. Johnson also had a great adjustment behind him on a drag route thrown by Locke. Jones connected with Chris Manhertz up the seam. Jack Stahl and Adoree Jackson were the only 2 tight ends did not receive first-team reps. Stahl had at least 2 drops in practice, which is not very good. Nacho continues to be a force in the run game. Cool. Isaiah Simmons received first-team slot reps. Looks huge out there. Andru Phillips received first-team reps in the slot as well. Carter Coughlin and Deontay Johnson received first-team reps next to Bobby Okereke. Darian Beavers knocked the pass away from an open Adoree Jackson up the seam. The ball was thrown by DeVito. Deontay Johnson had an easy sack versus the third-team offense. Jordan Riley made a quick stop versus a zone read run on the second rush in team period. Andru Phillips quickly shot a gap and recorded a tackle for loss versus Eric Gray. That was close to being a safety. Chris Manhertz, Joshua Zudu, and Jake Kubis all had 4 false starts. Javarius Owens took advantage of his second and third team reps today, as well as his special teams reps. Owens had a pass defense, maintained good spatial relationship multiple times in coverage, and had a good interception off a tip coming high to low. I say possibly because he fell on the deck and it was unclear if the ball touched the ground. Okay. So it was oh my goodness, there's just a ton of stuff. But, and there'll be another one but I mean, this stuff, it's, it's always great hearing this stuff. It's always great hearing different guys' names. I was bummed out when Beavers wasn't able to play last season. He got injured too. I mean, basically we've had Darian Beavers this is his 3rd season, and basically we hardly even had a chance to see the guy playing a game. Very anxious to see the guy. Guy can fly around the field, got nice height and everything. So I'm really anxious to see, hear about him. All the new guys we drafted. So it's great hearing all these different names instead of just, I'm obviously, you want, what did Malik Nabers do? What did he do? You want to hear, oh, yeah, Malik Nabers caught a long pass, cool. Or Hyatt caught a long pass, or Wan'Dale caught a pass and ran all the way for you. Of course, you'd like to hear that stuff too. Absolutely. But you want to hear all these other guys' names too. Javarius Owens, right? I mean, he hardly got any playing time at all last year. Yeah, it's nice to hear his name. Trey Hawkins from last year. Remember in training camp, he was supposed to be the next Deion Sanders. He looked unbelievable. And then all of a sudden, we got to the regular season and he started playing in regular season games, and it wasn't quite the same. So has he improved at all? I mean, it's all these guys. I mean, we got 90 of them out there. It's nice to hear a bunch of different guys' names. So there'll be another practice on Tuesday. Another padded practice on Tuesday. But then we got Brian Burns. Exit Giant practice early and possible injury worry. Well, we'll have to wait and see. it might be absolutely nothing, but when it comes to the New York Giants and their $141 million edge rusher, everything is something. Brian Burns left Monday's practice early with what appeared to be a right foot or ankle injury. While the team went through its final couple of drills, Burns was examined by trainers before removing his shoes and remaining on the sideline. It was the Giants' first full pads practice of training camp. Although, yeah, I mean, and that'll be the first question being asked tomorrow. When, you feel kind of bad for Coach Dable sometimes, but I mean, it comes with the territory. When you want to be the coach of the New York Giants or a coach of any team, it's going to happen. But the first question being asked tomorrow, Brian Dable, how's Brian Burns? What's going on? Is he injured? Is it like career threatening? Is he going to be out like 7 years? What's going on? First question. So says though we won't get an update before head coach Brian Dable talks to the media Tuesday morning. The injury didn't appear serious, thank goodness. Certainly not as dire as the torn ACL suffered by Dallas Cowboys pass rusher Sam Williams over the weekend. And that's just stuff, man. That just crap like that just freaking not only kills this guy, but it just kills you. You know, I mean, you're out there running around practicing and all that, and the dude's season's over with. It's like, are you kidding me? Absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. With the Giants expected to lean on a defense, especially the line, anchored in part by Burns and Thibodeau and Pro Bowl tackle Dexter Lawrence, injuries to any star along the front seven is a major concern. New York had one of NFL's worst offenses a year ago, and despite the arrival of rookie receivers Malik Nabers, it again expected to struggle to put points on the board. Star running back Barkley, and we know about him. But so we'll have to wait and see. You know, we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully it's just nothing. Maybe keep him out for a couple of days or something. So we'll have to, but long as it's not, season ending or anything like that. But once again, it is what it is. And the Giants and injuries just seem to kind of go hand in hand. All right, let's see what we got. There we got Tommy DeVito. He said it would be a gamble for the Giants to cut me. It would be. I mean, it would be a gamble. I mean, if they wanted to. I mean, the thing is that if they're going to cut him, he'd have to go through waivers. That's the gamble. Because then they would have to put him back on the practice squad, but he's got to clear waivers first, so which he may not do, because now he has a little bit of a resume from last season. So, and on his resume as a third-string quarterback, the Giants went, I think it said 3-3. Third-string quarterback with one of the worst offensive lines in the history of the NFL, went 3-3. So it just goes to show you that he can play. Not saying he's Patrick Mahomes or nothing, but the guy can play. He can win your football games, especially with no offensive line and no big time wide receivers either. Right? A year ago, New York Giants, they cut Tommy DeVito at the 53-man roster reduction. Big Blue re-signed him to the practice squad. He went on to start 6 games as a rookie and became a local sensation. This time around, DeVito's not just happy to be in camp. He is battling to give the front office a tough choice about whether they should keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster. I'm going to put them in a situation to make a decision, DeVito said Sunday. It's going to be up to them. I'm going to go out and do my job to the highest ability. It's not in my hands, this decision. In 9 appearances last season, DeVito completed 64% of his passes for 1,101 yards, 8 touchdowns. The Giants were 3-3 in his starts. He helped lead Big Blue to 3 consecutive wins at one point. Right, and that big game, the big come from behind victory over the Packers. This offseason, the Giants stuck with Daniel Jones, and they brought in Drew Lock after Tyrod Taylor moved to play for the Jets. If Joe Schoen decides not to keep three quarterbacks, DeVito is confident he could get scooped up elsewhere. He may not make it to the practice squad. He said, I'm very aware of how they operate in this organization. He said, that's up to them to make that decision, make that gamble. I'm going to continue to play. We'll see how everything unfolds. If they decide to cut me and I get scooped up, I don't get to make that decision. Afterwards, if somebody grabs me, no, I want to stay here. It's everything for the front office. So, yeah. Let's see, however, the 25-year-old showed enough ability to run an offense that he should stick around the league in some capacity for a spell. Nathan Peterman is still bouncing around after all. Wow, jeez. You know, I mean, as I said, you showed, that you can, win, with like probably maybe the second worst offensive line in the history of the NFL. Not good offensive, not phenomenal offensive weapons, right? And you're a third string quarterback, and you went 3-3 with just trash around you, right? Just trash. You went 3-3. That's going to draw some attention. So if they do let him go, and they think, well, we'll just let him go, he'll clear waivers, we'll pick him back up, throw him in the practice squad. That's a gamble. That would be a gamble. So the Giants going to keep 3, or they're going to keep 2. Be interesting to see. Because, if they let Drew Lock go, he's getting scooped up. They let Daniel Jones go, he's getting scooped up. So, but speaking of Drew Lock, somebody asked him while he was talking, the thing about they asked him about Hard Knocks, which is on tomorrow night. So the last episode number 5, tomorrow night. Don't you dare miss it. It's all about the draft, right? But with Drew Lock, in Hard Knocks, they were talking about, tables like, I think Shane asked them, whatever, what do you want to do with the quarterback room? You want to keep, I want to keep them all the same. Keep the same. Yeah, I want to bring Tyrod back. We got Daniel, bring back Tyrod. We got Tommy Chicken Cutler Parmesan. That's what I want, right? So then, of course, Tyrod went, to the Jets, and it was kind of like the Giants brought in Drew Lock. So it wasn't like initially they wanted Drew. No, let's get rid of Tyrod. Let's bring Drew Lock. That wasn't what they wanted initially. So, of course, one of the reporters or whatever asked Drew Lock, were you offended? Because they didn't want you. They wanted Tyrod Taylor. So, after he's gone, they're like, all right, okay, well, I guess we'll bring in Drew Lock. We really don't, so they're always trying to ask these kind of questions to try to, see if they'll get some kind of a negative response or something like that, man. Oh, I got a negative response, man. This is great. So they asked him, are you offended? Yeah. But Drew Lock said no. He said he wasn't offended, so whether he was or not, that was the politically correct answer. 2 thumbs up for you, Drew. You gave the correct answer. Way to go, pal. Whether you're offended or not, way to go. But he said, if you got 3 quarterbacks in the quarterback room, you want to keep that continuity. Right? You got Daniel Jones as the starter. You got Tyrod Taylor as your backup. That's pretty damn good. And then you got a 3rd-string quarterback, Tommy Chicken Cutler Parmesan, who came in and won you 3 ball games. Well, I said, once again, for the 38th time, with the 2nd worst offensive line in the history of mankind. Not football, mankind, going back hundreds of millions of years. But, the offensive weapons were nothing super duper spectacular. There's no ABCD Lamb running around. There's no Brown, DeVonta Smith. There's no Justin Jefferson. None of that, right? And somehow he won you 3 football games. So So he said if it was up to him, he would have kept the same thing too, keep that continuity going. So so for him to for them to want to keep the same three guys together, I makes sense to me. Tyrod went for greener pastures, for greener and the Jets. Pardon the pun, right? So the Giants needed a quarterback. Well, they went after Drew Lock. Thankfully, he came. I think it was a good pick for the Giants. Really good pick for the Giants. Let's see. So Drew Lock. Let's see. Drew Lock might not have been the team's first choice to back up starter Daniel Jones, but that didn't mean that either side isn't happy to be with each other for the coming season. In the Hard Knocks series, which concludes tomorrow night, there was a scene in which head coach Brian Daboll spoke of his desire to retain quarterback Tyrod Taylor, the team's backup, the last two seasons. In free agency, when that didn't happen, the team pivoted to Lock, who had most recently been with the Seahawks. Yeah. And, Locke said, you want to keep the room the same, regardless of what's going on. That's what happened after my first year in Seattle, he said, after Monday's padded practice. As a coach, if I go into quarterback coaching and we have a great room, guys get along, and I try to keep it the same. Why wouldn't you? If that quarterback room functions well and everybody meshes well, that's a very good sign for your team. So I get it. I have no animosities or any feelings like that. So, whether Drew Lock meant it or not, he said the politically correct answer. So good for you. Then we got the last thing here is there's who did this here? This is on Giants Wire, but they didn't. They're not the ones. Every NFL head coach, including Brian Daboll, ranked 32 ranked. You got all the head coaches. Let's see. After an impressive first season, saw him named AP Head Coach of the Year. Brian Daboll watched the Giants regress significantly in 2023. Well, the injuries, you got a third-string quarterback in there. You got a starting quarterback that you lost 2 times. It's like, they don't have any great offensive weapons. They had Saquon, but let's see. A slew of injuries at multiple positions and some strife among the coaching staff resulted in a disaster on the field. Well, it was 6-11. Daboll largely reassembled his staff this offseason and enters year 3 with increased pressure to perform. The Giants start slowly or fail to improve from a season ago. There's some belief, especially in Vegas, that Daboll's seat will hot in short order. Okay. Touchdown Wire's Jared Bailey ranked all 32 head coaches in the NFL, including Daboll. Let's take a look at where the Giants head coach landed, and he did not get much love. Dennis Allen, I don't even know, Jared Bailey, whoever that is, no idea. That's okay. He don't know who I am either. Ranked is number 32, the coach of the Saints. Matt Eberflus, number 31, the coach of the Bears, and Gerard Mayo. But he has no coaching experience whatsoever, so you really have no idea whatsoever. Thankfully, just for this, they ranked Mayo behind Brian Daboll. The thing that I do have a problem, and I understand, a lot of people look at Brian Daboll from last season, and it's a horrible season. But of course, none of it had to do with the fact that they have a horrible offensive line. The coaches were not, maybe like Bobby Johnson stinks. That right? They don't have phenomenal weapons, right? And they were 6-11. They had a third string quarterback in there. And the year before that, he was the coach of the year. He took them to a playoff. They won a playoff game. But apparently, I guess all of that kind of went out the window, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it's only been 2 years. But the thing that I do have a little bit of problem is that he's got guys in here on this list ranked higher than Brian Daboll who have never coached. And they got one of the guys who's coached before, who's not done a good job at all coaching, and they got him ahead. Well, Raheem Morris. Now, he had one good year. We look at his coaching career. In 2009, he was 3-13. Then in 2010, he went to 10-6. And then in 2011, they went to 4-12. So, in 2010, Raheem Morris was 10-6. That was right about what Daboll was. It was 9-7-1. In the Daboll's second season, he went down to 6 wins. Well, Morris went from 10 wins down to 4 wins. Then he coached Atlanta for 11 games. In 2020, he was 4-7. So he's had 4 seasons in the NFL. 3 of them, he's had 4 wins or less in. He was 3-13, 4-12, and 4-7. And somehow he is ranked as a better head coach than Brian Daboll, who's had 1 winning season and 1 losing season. I can't even talk. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. Let's see. Morris, he's not too far ahead. Let's see. Where is he? But he's number 20. Now, I don't understand that. Why is he 20 and Brian Daboll's 29? I mean, he's had like 3 losing seasons out of 4 years. He's had a 3-13, a 4-12. Brian Daboll only was 6-11. So I don't know why is Raheem Morris basically almost 10 spots better than Brian Daboll. 1 spot better? Okay, all right, I'll give you that. He's 10 spots better than Brian Daboll? Really? Yeah. Once again, I said, I mean, he was 3-13 his first season. Brian Daboll was 9-7-1 with a team that hadn't won a playoff game in 10 years. 9-7-1, coach of the year. They went backwards, a lot of injuries, 3rd-string quarterback, right? Not phenomenal offensive, So I'll give you that. They went backwards, but Morris, he went 3-13, then he went to 10-6. Great job, but the next year he went down to 4-12. He's gone. Then he was with Atlanta. They were 4-7. So he's had 4 seasons. He had 3 losing seasons out of 4, and somehow he's 10 spots better than Brian Daboll. Yeah. Dude, put the crack pipe down, man. Come on. I mean, it's just some of the stuff is just really just straight up silly. The next one I got, I'm gonna. It's Dave Canales. I mean, another thing is Antonio Pierce. He had it was like 5-4, I guess. Antonio Pierce does phenomenal things with the Raiders. God bless you, brother. Hey, I'm pulling for him. I'm not, but he's got Antonio Pierce, who hasn't even had a full season, hasn't taken a team to a playoff, much less a playoff win. He has him better as a better coach than Brian Daboll. Okay, yeah, all right. But the guy from Dave Canales, the guy who's the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Now, he was the offensive coordinator for Tampa Bay last year. Right? So you got to give him some credit there, right? I mean, they won the division. They went to a playoff game. They whooped up on the Eagles. Yeah, thank you, Jesus. So you give him some credit there. But then Brian Dable did some pretty good things when he was an offensive coordinator too, right? So that's kind of like a wash to me. I mean, I think even Brian Dable was probably a better offensive coordinator than this guy was. But this guy comes into the league, has no coaching experience whatsoever, and all of a sudden he's a better head coach than Brian Dable. He doesn't have nothing at all, and he's a better coach than Dable. Yeah, sure, dude. Come on, man. Well, Dable's 29. This guy, where are we at there? I mean, this guy wasn't much higher. Let's see. He's 24. Yeah. All right. Then we have Mike Macdonald, the head coach of Seattle. Now, he was what was he? He was the Ravens' defensive coordinator. Did a very good job. Very, very good job. Right? But then again, same thing. If you're a coordinator and you're being given credit for being a good coordinator, well, Dable in college was a pretty good one at Alabama. And while he was quarterback, right? But with Buffalo, he did pretty good last time I checked with Josh Allen, right? So, but I said once again, this guy Mike Macdonald comes in. He's going to be the head coach of Seattle. Has no coaching experience whatsoever, and this guy has him ranked higher than Brian Dable. I'm a little. I understand that. I'm a little lost there. Then he has Nick Sirianni, who's just Johnny douchebag. I absolutely can't stand that guy. Basically was given like the best team in the NFL, took him to the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago. Well, he really didn't take him. The team, their Howie Roseman, their GM, who spends $900 trillion a year, because there is no salary cap with the Eagles. They just bring in everybody they want. Put 9,000 void years on the end of everybody's contract. So Saquon he's getting paid 13 or 14 million a year, but he only counts like 3 million toward the salary cap. Because there's so many void years added. They'll be paying Saquon for the next like 500 years. Same thing with Jalen Hurts. I think in 2027 or 20 something like that, his salary cap hit is like $97.5 million. Why? Because they're pushing all the money down the road. These guys are going to be getting paid when they're not on the team. So Nick Sirianni 2 years ago had 2 very good coordinators, the offensive and defensive coordinator, was given the best team, and they took them to the Super Bowl, and they lost it in the second half. Then last season, right, they started 10-1 and couldn't sniff a win the rest of the season. Got blown out in the first round of the playoffs. Not only that, the Giants kicked the living crap out of them the final game of the season, 27-10. The guy, they started 10-1, couldn't even wind up with 12 wins. And somehow he's like number 18. Yeah, really? He's that much better than Brian? Yeah. I mean, Shane kind of does it the right way. He has the salary cap. That's what he spends. He doesn't spend over it. He doesn't, he's not like, as I said, Howie Roseman, who just brings in everybody. So I don't know. I just think that Dable got a little bit of a bad rap. There were some bad coaching decisions last year. I think hopefully Dable will start calming down. Maybe maybe as far as with his coordinators, maybe Wink, what happened with Wink, hopefully that won't happen with anybody else or whatever. But Dable's a fiery coach, right? I mean, if you're losing a football game, do you want to coach on the sideline? Do you want that, or you want somebody who's flipping freaking tables over, yelling and screaming and flip? That's what I want. I want some passion out there. If we're losing, guess what? You're going to hear it. Guess what? Everybody's going to hear it. Everyone's going to feel my wrath. Right? That's what I want. I mean, the dude basically freaks out when they win, and the dude ain't nobody more jacked up than that guy is either on a win, right? He's also that way on a loss, right? He's got to control that a little bit, but I'll tell you what, if I want somebody who's pissed off when things aren't going well, right? But hopefully Dave will learn his lesson with that. But as I said, I want somebody with some passion there. I mean, it's it's not tennis, right? It's not golf or whatever. Tiger with the all that stuff, but football. You gotta show some passion. So I'm happy Dable's our coach, but this guy, whoever this guy is here. Once again, whoever this guy's name is here, let's see, Jarrett Bailey, whoever that is, he's got Dable as number 29. I find that hard to believe. Of course, let's see, I forgot who. Of course, we know Andy Reid is number 1, as darn well he should be. Let's see. And Sean McVay was number 2. I don't know. They got Tomlin number 3. I'd have to give Tomlin number 2. Tomlin has I mean, if you go back, Tomlin's never had a losing season. And he hasn't had Ben Roethlisberger every year. Right? You go that many years and you're actually still with the same team, and they just gave the dude an extension, right? You haven't had a losing season. And this past couple of years, they have not had, maybe the most phenomenal quarterback play, right? And he keeps getting winning seasons. That's a tough division. Cincinnati, the Ravens, and what Cleveland did last year with Joe Flacco, right? It's a tough division. It's going to be tough again this year. I don't know how Cleveland's going to do. But you can almost bet your bottom dollar the Ravens are going to be pretty good. As long as they stay healthy, you can almost bet your bottom dollar Cincinnati's going to be pretty good. And every year, I mean, I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs or not, but you can almost bet your bottom dollar, they've got a good chance of once again becoming having a winning record. So I'd have to have Tomlin number 2. I mean, he doesn't have the Super Bowls that Reid does, the Super Bowl victories that Reid does. But then again, Tomlin doesn't have Patrick Mahomes like Reid does, but Reid's got to be number 1. I'd have to have Tomlin number 2, without question. But I said, Dable number 29. I got some problems with that, especially after what he did the first season. I said the first season he was 6-11. Last season he was 6-11. Okay, I can live with that. Maybe he got some new head coaches coming in. Right, you want to put him ahead of Brian Dable, who was 6-11 and 6-11. Okay, I can live with that. I said first year came in 9-7-1, went to the playoffs, had a playoff victory with once again not a horrible offensive line, not phenomenal weapons. Right, we have Saquon, but other than that, it's nice receivers. But as I said, there's no ABCD Lamb running around out there. There's no Chase. There's no Jefferson. There's no Wild. There's no Tyreek Hill. We ain't got none of that. We don't have Kittles, right? We don't got Kelsey as a tight end, right? And he was 9-7-1. That's pretty good. Then we took a step back. Obviously, the injuries were huge. The poor offensive line play, and the third string quarterback. And we won 3 games with the third string quarterback. It's not easy to do. So number 29, I got a problem with that. All right, guys, it's been 1 hour and 3 minutes. Whoever spent any time listening to me live, thank you. Or if anybody's going to spend any time watching the replays, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. As always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo! Oh, yeah.